for the Sage 100 division. Today we have Denise Hutchison from Biznet Software who's going to do a demo for us on her product, which is one of the general ledger reporting replacements for FRX, Financial Report Writer, which was retired last year by Microsoft. So with all of this, I'm going to turn everything over to Denise and let her have the floor. Denise, welcome.
Thank you, Sherry, and good morning, or good afternoon, I guess, everybody. So this is a presentation on our, we're going to focus on the financial reporting capabilities and looking at Biznet as your maybe FRX replacement option. And one of the things you'll note is it's not limited to financial reporting like FRX was, but that's going to be really the focus for today. Would like to keep this, you know, pretty informal. Basically, it's not too large a group. As you have questions, please submit them in the question box, and you know we can address those as they come up. So, with that, I'm just going to give you a quick introduction into Biznet as a company, tell you a little bit about our expertises and credentials, and then we'll spend the majority time looking at the product itself. Don't expect us to take a full hour. We're going to try to keep it to about 45 minutes or so. But in the demonstration, you'll see how we can drag and drop and drill down and pretty much navigate through the system. We'll build a simple report, and then we'll publish some reporting. You can see just, I think, how easy it is for our users with a minimal amount of training to be able to be self-sufficient. So a couple of things. Not going to have a huge PowerPoint presentation, but really want to address maybe the top two bullets here. I think you'll find because Biznet is all Excel-based, extremely intuitive, and it is very easy to use and to learn. We address the connecting Sage 100 data to our Excel-based reporting in a unique way, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but it allows us to get very efficient data access and performance, and it doesn't require any additional hardware or anything like that. The product is called BizInsight. It is native to Excel, which allows us to leverage all of your existing spreadsheets. So if you have been maintaining, exporting out of FRX every month, we can leverage those formats, any Excel functionality, etc. And in most cases, customers coming off of FRX, we can reduce the number of reports with Biznet, as you'll see. Designed for business users, not technical users, and if you are manually creating emails today, PDFs, with the one-time setup, we can really eliminate all those manual processes, and it deploys very, very quickly. So, little on our company. We've been in business for a while. We have a very strong presence in the Sage community. We've been doing it for working with Sage 100 for about 9 years. The product is called BizInsight and first released in 2005. So pretty mature product, and this is all we do as a company. We use the technology without getting too technical called in-memory analytics, and you'll see it kind of working at a high level in the demo, but we don't store data in spreadsheets. We don't have to build a separate database to get around performance. We cache data in memory, and it's really going to be completely transparent to you, but again, very efficient data access. In terms of our FRX credentials, we started working with Sage 100, as I mentioned, many, many years ago, and our first customers actually bought Biznet to work as a complement to FRX. And financial reporting is our strength, and especially where they were consolidating companies with different charts, calendars, maybe even different base currencies. It was not as easily done in FRX, and that's really something we do very, very well. With the retirement announcement, we've been selected by many software publishers in the mid-market for their FRX replacement choice more than any other product in the space. And you can see the industry analysts that endorse us as well. And we're really proud of K2 Enterprises endorsement. They're a independent consulting firm. They hold technology webinars primarily for accountants, but they evaluate all types of products in the mid-market. And you can see for the last 4 years they've endorsed us for financial reporting. So that's kind of my quick commercial on our company. If anyone has a question about who we are and what we do, please ask us. But we're going to jump ahead to the product itself, and hopefully everyone can see my spreadsheet okay. This is the Biznet user interface. It's Excel. So you'll open up Excel just like you do today. It's going to work just like it does for you now. When you want to access reporting, you simply present the reporting pane. Now again, as I mentioned, we integrate 2 other modules. We'll be adding things like inventory later this year, and all pre-built. But we're going to be focusing on the financial reporting. But the ability to pull from different modules into the same spreadsheet is something we can easily do. So in terms of getting started building your reports, as I said, leveraging your existing spreadsheets, if those are formats that you already have and prefer, then we can just using our function set, which I'm going to show you in a minute. It's an easy process to connect your Sage data to those existing spreadsheets, and that's a one-time process. The second best option, if you're still in, let's say, FRX, we can go into FRX. We copy the row formats into Excel, and that's also a really easy way to jumpstart the report building. And then the third option is we do have some out-of-the-box report templates that you can modify and use. So this list of reports is going to get organized and tailored, not only the reports modified, but the naming and the organization here. Just simply right-click, and you can reorder, remove, and more importantly, start adding all your own reports as you build them. So you open up Excel. You access the report just by dragging it and dropping it into your open spreadsheet. And basically, you can see at this point, it opens up the report and it's current at the time you open it up. So unlike your existing spreadsheets, this is kind of what we call a live linked report. Now this, again, these are just examples. The formatting is going to be completely different from customer to customer, but you'll see just the flexibility. So this report was designed that I could change my fiscal year, and I could change my locations, which is one of my segments. So I can look at one, I could look at all, and I'll show you kind of some roll-up examples. And I can have as many parameters as I want. I could have company, year, location, department, cost center, whatever your reporting requirements are. But once you build the report, you can see how I can interact real-time with the database just by changing these parameters. Everything is easily reformatted, even though this was initially designed as a 3-month trend. If I decide I want to make it 7 or 12 periods, I can just simply drag and drop, and my report is all reformatted automatically. We leverage a lot of the conditional formatting of Excel since we're native to this environment, which means all of the things you do in Excel will work with Biznet. So this same report, instead of manually dragging and dropping, has been set up to use the standard conditional formatting of Excel so that I can conditionally format this report based on period. If I want to drill on a cell, let's say I want to take a closer look at this total revenue number, just right-click on the cell, and under your standard Excel right-click options, you can see the Biznet drill down. And you can see I can drill to balances or transactions in a pre-built pivot or list drill down format for you. So we can just, again, pull in the balances that make up that number by account, or we can get down to the individual transaction detail. So I'm going to select that option, first selecting the list. And what it's going to do is grab that transaction, those transactions, and list them out for me on a separate tab. And basically, this is just Excel. So at this point, you can filter this list. You can do calculations on it. It's just a regular Excel spreadsheet format. But as you start getting lots and lots of details, you know, hundreds and thousands of detailed transactions for the period, it's a little harder to work with, and it's sometimes a lot easier to organize that detail by first selecting the pivot table option. So we're going to do that, and it's going to take that same detail again on a separate tab and format and present that detail in the pivot. Now I have my pivot table organized to give me the main account code and the net amount, but every user might have a different preference. Each user, instead, when they initially drill down, maybe some users want to see the fully formatted GL account, maybe the account descriptions. So that's really a user preference. But more importantly, I can start organizing this detail in a way I want to see it. Maybe I want to look at the post date, and maybe I want to grab a field like the location and drag it under the column label box. So all of a sudden, instead of looking at something that looks like this, I've now organized my detail in a way that I want to analyze it. So I can see just the transactions for any one of these numbers, organized in this case by GL account, by my post date, by my location segment. So just double clicking gives me just the detail there. So every drill down request just creates another tab for you. And you can slice and dice by just dragging and dropping these fields even within these pivot table column boxes. So I can drag any field under the row and organize it in a way that I want to analyze it. So you just kind of drag and drop, and it's really easy to slice and dice. Okay, kind of moving on here. We've been looking at a trend, various trend reports with our periods in the columns. Now kind of flip-flopping that, we've got our locations in the columns, and the period is up here as a parameter. So anything, this is Excel, anything can be laid out in the row, anything can be laid out in the column, and we no longer, like FRX, have to live within this predefined row or column format. If I wanted to break down maybe some of these expense items by vendor and come using the expense analysis, I could do that actually, or some of these revenue items coming from the sales analysis module. So you certainly can mix and match within the same row or column report or format. So also these, we'll look at just some simple report formats, but you know, we support all of the formats coming out of FRX, and we've seen some pretty complex formats over the years. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of different examples, and then we're going to build a simple report so you can see how easy it is to actually connect your data to the report formats that you want to have. So kind of looking at a trend, this is based on the 12-month rolling trend. So you can see we've got the current month over here. And again, the idea of the Biznet reports is we build the body of the report once, and we enable the report views to be changed just by simply changing the parameters here. So I can get this rolling 12-month trend, and I can do it by all locations or individual locations. And you can kind of see here that we added a chart here. We do a lot of charting and dashboarding, and your charts and your dashboards, once built, sit on top of our functions, so it makes those dynamic as well. So let's look at a couple. We've got a couple of different examples here. We've got a lot we can look at, but in the interest of time, we're going to just cover building a very simple expense analysis. Once I do that, we're going to look at roll-ups. We're going to look at consolidations. We're going to touch on budgeting, dashboarding, and report distribution. So a lot to cover, but again, I'm just going to give you a kind of a feel without getting into too deep of a dive. So I've got a question. I just saw that flash through, so I'm going to maybe address it as they come up. How do these reports act outside of the system? For example, I build a reporting pack and send it to an outside board member. Will the report still work and have the correct information? Absolutely. I'm going to show you report distribution. You set that up one time. They do not need to have, obviously, a Biznet license. They probably wouldn't. And you can tailor the set of reports that you set up for distribution specifically tailored to each recipient. So I can send everybody the same set of reports, but in different formats, different modes of delivery, and different content. So I'm going to show you report distribution because it will truly, I think, hopefully save you guys time in terms of delivering those reports and publishing them out. So we're going to kind of, you'll definitely see that. But hopefully that answered your question at this point. So let's go ahead and build a report, a very simple report. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build a month-to-date, year-to-date, and let's just go ahead and do a year-over-year comparison to start. And if anyone has any specific preferences, I take demo requests on the fly all the time. It really can be anything you want. So to get the prior year, we're going to take the current year -1, okay? So again, the concept is we're going to provide these as report parameters. So to be able to pull a financial number somewhere on the spreadsheet, doesn't matter where it is, it could be company, your entities in the rows and the columns. We're going to put our company entity as a parameter up here. I need to have a valid company, valid year, valid fiscal period, and everything else would be optional, like my subledgers. So we're going to put our parameters here. We've labeled our columns, and now let's talk about the row formats. Again, if you're on FRX, we simply can copy and paste the row formats into Excel. And I used to be able to show you that. I just went to Windows 8, and my FRX is no longer working, which is probably what's, that's starting to happen across the user community of FRX. But you do not need to be a Sage user to be a Biznet report writer. You don't have to go into Sage. So what if I have a totally blank sheet? I have no basis. I don't have an existing Excel spreadsheet to work from, and I may not have access to Sage or FRX. How do I get that information? Well, you'll come over here to our analysis sets, and we have two types. We have what's called data analysis sets. And day one, or at any time, this is your ad hoc access to data. You want to do quick data validation, you can pull month-to-date, year-to-date budget, and transaction detail reporting out of the box day one or at any time. But the other key piece is all of our list capability. So you want to get a list of your company codes, a list of budget codes by company, and all of your sub-ledger information, your account structure. You just request the list, drag it into Excel. You can reference the company code list from the company code list here, and you put in the company code. Oops, I requested, sorry, I want my segment 2 here. And you're going to put that in. It's going to give you just my departments. Now it's going to give me my GL account. So from here I could filter this, copy and paste from it. So these lists are always dynamic. I never have to go through Sage to get that information. So again, we'll kind of go through that. Okay. Okay. So let's just thought I had another question there, but we don't. So let's let's connect the data. So what we're going to do is we've got our rows. We're building a very simple report. We've got single accounts in our rows, but these row formats can be as varied and as complex as you need. You might have a single account here. You might have a list of accounts, maybe a range or multiple ranges with additions or exclusions, a wildcard, an account group. Can be as complex as you want. And they can be as complex as I have multiple ranges, but when it's this GL account and this department code, I want to exclude that particular case, you can do that. So just all the same functionality that you can do in FRX, and hopefully this is going to be easier to learn for you than FRX was, but certainly no harder. So now we're ready to connect our Sage data to this format. And you do that as a report writer using our pre-built functions. So we can pull as part of the financial reporting package, we can pull month-to-date, year-to-date, and budget data. And these functions are going to prompt you, as you'll see, to provide a fiscal year and period. We also, though, have the option of building financial reports by date range. So we have clients that want to do, let's say, weekly financials. Instead of prompting you for a fiscal year and period, it's going to prompt you for a start and end date. We're not going to look at those functions. We're going to just look at the period base, but note that you do have that capability. Now, in looking at the function set, you have the ability to pull month-to-date net balance. I can break out my debit credits. I can see any unposted. I can pull statistical or non-financial. And I've got my equivalent year-to-date functions with a beginning and ending balance. So pretty straightforward. So for this first column, we're simply going to grab the month-to-date net balance, drag it into this first row. It opens up the function for you. And basically, through cell referencing, we're just going to identify where we put the company. So we click on the cell, and it's going to validate as we go. And then I'm hitting my function 4 key to do my Excel anchoring. And if you're not familiar with that Excel functionality, most people are familiar with typing in the $sign, so this is what's going to allow me to drag and drop or copy and paste the function. And hitting F4 just eliminates the need to have to type in the $sign. If I hit it once, it anchors row and column, twice to anchor the row. So if we wanted to, let's say, put our periods in the columns and we'd anchor the row. So as we dragged it across, it would anchor the row but not the column. 3 times to anchor the column but not the row. 4 times takes it off. And we don't have to specify all of our arguments. It just rolls up all values. So it does require, for financial functions, fiscal company year period. Everything else we can do as options. Now again, we're going to anchor the column. And notice it's returning a number. If I had made an error, it would let me know that. But clicking OK, I now don't have to do that again. That's a live linked cell. And as soon as you add a function in a report, the drill down is available to you. and it's live linked in dynamics. So notice I'm going to change the period here, and you'll see my number changes. So hopefully that looks pretty straightforward to everybody. Let's round out the other columns real quickly. Now I could come over here to the year-to-date net function, build it from scratch, just like I did the month-to-date, but I'm going to show you a couple shortcuts. All of our month-to-date and year-to-date functions really ask me for all the same arguments. So I just can simply copy the function and come up here, and I'm going to rename it the function that I want, whether it's year-to-date net or year-to-date credit or debit, whatever, you can name it any function you want. They're going to actually, the arguments won't change. And then we're going to copy over here and paste. So I very rarely have to start from scratch in a lot of cases. And in this case, I'm going to open up the function and just change one argument, which is the year reference. So I don't have to build the whole function out from scratch. Anchor it, click OK, and then I'm going to copy and rename for the prior year, year-to-date. So hopefully that looks pretty straightforward. And let's go ahead and bring in some of the descriptors. Now I can bring in company description, so as I change my company code, I want to maybe change the header on the report for each company. I can bring in my budget codes, and we're going to go ahead and bring in our account description here. So all these functions work the same, so no matter what module you're in. So once you kind of learn how to do this, you're good to go. Okay? So we just brought in our account description, and now what I can do is grab the entire row, and we'll drag it down here. And we'll go ahead and we can use any standard Excel formatting and functions. So we'll add a sum function, and we're done. Just save that off. I don't ever have to do that again. Now, even though I defined this format, I'm not stuck with it. Just like Excel, you know what? I decided, I want my month-to-date columns to be together. Everything you would normally expect you could do with a spreadsheet, you can do with this. So I can come back in and decide later on, you know what, I want to have a variance formula. So again, what makes this so nice is that everything you're used to doing in Excel you can still do, and all your existing Excel spreadsheets will work just fine. We don't need to change those formulas in any Excel functions. We're just going to replace your static data with one of our pre-built functions. Now the other thing is not only in this reporting pane do you save your reports, but you actually start saving report templates. We're not going to have to maintain these rows in every report. What we're going to do is actually save report templates, which get stored in a file as opposed to the spreadsheet, so that I can make changes in one place. But it also enables you to save commonly used formulas. And I find this really handy because a lot of times I can't remember the exact syntax of certain Excel function formulas, and that's what this is. This is actually, I've got a nice header in the report, and I've just got a Y here for a placeholder for where my year goes, and an M for where my month or period goes. And so I can just save that formula, drag it in, and make the appropriate cell reference, and now I've got a date header that stays dynamic, and it's just easily, and that's just Excel functions, but again, I can never remember the syntax, so I don't do it that often. So kind of a lot of uses for this, and everything from this pane is always a drag and drop, whether it's a report, a list, a function, or a formula, it doesn't really matter. So I don't know if there's any questions, but feel free to please ask questions. Now, not going to get into a whole lot of report building. This is just to kind of give you a feel, but again, you can get extremely complex expressions, as we call them, in this single cell here for a row, and to simplify that, you can do it in lots of different ways, but we do have an expression editor that is kind of a wizard, and it prompts you through just by, you just kind of click and prompt you through not only what arguments you want in that row format, but values, and whether it's a range, a list, or you're adding or excluding values. So we won't really go through that, but it builds the syntax for you and just prompts you through building more complex and extremely complex formats. Okay, so I think hopefully everyone has a fairly good sense of the report building. It's really pretty straightforward. Let's look at, once you kind of see how that works, let's look at some different types of reports. I'm going to look at consolidations and also looking at some other examples here. So For those of you that have multiple companies that you're consolidating, you can do it a couple of different ways. We've got companies consolidated here, and basically you can put the company code in each of the columns, just like you had the periods before. If you have the same chart of accounts, you'd simply anchor the company code for the row, drag it across, and it would pick up the company code in each of the columns. Where they're different, and this is really where we started working as a complement to FRX, where you've got different charts, different fiscal calendars. This is really easy to do in Biznet, wasn't so easy to do in FRX, and not so easy to do in some other systems. So we can have totally different chart structures, totally different fiscal calendars. So if they are different fiscal calendars, then we will, based on the current month, do a lookup on that month to equate it to the appropriate fiscal period in each of the companies. So no magic. It's really simple to set up, and also very clean. Now, if you have different base currencies, then we use a commonly used third-party multi-currency module for full multi-currency reporting. Since Sage doesn't have its own, it is a third-party, but it, you use the multi-currency functions to do your currency translations. So just to note that that's something we offer for Sage 100. So if you want to report all in USD, you can do that. So the standard functions report in the base currency. If you had to do any kind of currency conversion, you would use the multi-currency functions in lieu of those standard functions. So they work exactly the same. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's look at the trees and things like that. So let's look at just look at some roll-ups here. We've just got basically kind of a simple roll-up. This is looking at our various locations, and we're rolling those up into what we're calling a region. And again, from a reporting standpoint, I can do whatever level of roll-ups I want. We don't have a region defined within our Sage demo company, but just like FRX, I can create those roll-ups, you know, like you have in your trees. And these can be multi-level. We're just looking at region here. Oops. I have to see what I must be pulling from the wrong thing. Pulling from, we can look at all regions. So it's very, very, very simple here. Just added something to my table, so I may have made a little mistake there. But it's very, very simple. We can roll up, you know, departments within regions, within the company, that kind of thing. So very simple to build. Okay, so let's look at budgeting real quickly, and if there aren't any questions, please let me know as well. Again, I'll keep reiterating that. So just I'm going to show you one other quick little fun example here, kind of coming back to the P&L. As I mentioned, you can mix and match your values. So this looks like a traditional, you know, P&L report, but I wanted to break down our consulting revenue by territory coming from the sales analysis module. So couldn't really do that in FRX, and this is pulling our sales amount for each of the this current period and year. So based, you know, so I can. This is coming from the GL. This is coming from the sales analysis. So just to give you an idea of just that kind of flexibility that you would have. Okay, looking now at the budgeting process, what we're going to do is we're going to build a simple budget, and we've got a couple of different ways to do budgeting, but really what this is intended to show you is the flexibility and the streamlining of all the different spreadsheets you may have floating around in terms of your budgeting process. We've got a budget build process that allows us to create spreadsheets easily, and those can be imported into Sage, so it eliminates all the exporting. We do have a process that does allow you, this would be set up with some consulting by ISM, but it would allow you to set up your budgets to eliminate any importing. So I'm going to show you kind of that process a little bit. The budget build process is the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a budget report, and we're going to build our new budgets for each location, and we're going to base it on the prior year actuals. Now, I can base it on absolutely anything I want, but we're going to do it based on the prior year actuals. And I'm going to generate a unique budget for each location, but I'm going to do that using one spreadsheet. I don't have to maintain a spreadsheet for each company, each department, each location. So the way we do that is we're going to generate or set up an assumption sheet. Now your assumptions can be you can have as many as you like. You could get down to the line item detail if you wanted to. I've just got basically mine broken out by revenue and fixed and variable expenses. Okay, and you can have different types. So we're adding a fixed rate. We can add a fixed rate and/or percentage rate. I've got this to be set up to allocate further by head count, or I could turn it off. So the point of this is I can have as many assumptions as I want, and I can have different types of assumptions across the board for each level. So pretty flexible, and this is really just Excel at this point. You can have as many calculations as you want within a cell, obviously. So once we've set up our assumption sheet, we're going to start with our version 1 here. We're now going to say apply those assumptions to the prior year budget and generate the new budgets for each location. So what it's actually done very simply is it's taken the budgets and created each budget report, and in this case we're storing it in a file to eliminate the importing, or we would generate them out to a folder for import, so you can do it either way. And then once you've got this set up, we're going to, I'll show you my folder is, oops, let me come back to my publish folder here, is empty. And once this is set up, to publish is very simple, comes down to a click. And what we're going to do right now is we're generating the budgets, and for each location, we're storing them in a Biznet repository, very simple setup, and we're also distributing them out to the folder, but they could be distributed out in a variety of ways. So we just generated the budgets. I don't need the budget build process unless I was going to revise it. And now let's go over to my folder here, and you'll see there's my reports. And I'm going to open up just one of these reports. It's like open up the Dallas report here. And you can see it generated the specific budget report for Dallas, version 1, today's date. And notice, too, we sent them 2 reports. We sent them the prior year actuals for their review and the new proposed budgets for the new coming year. So what I want to do now is I want to make some revisions to this budget report. And I'm going to adjust maybe period 2 here for my Dallas period 2 report. And Sherry, I don't know if you want to just throw out a number for me so you can kind of give me a kind of see this is on the fly in real time. And I promise you all I don't know what the number is, and we haven't rehearsed this. Sherry, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I put some background noise here.
All right, I didn't mean to throw you for a loop, but I thought I would just ask you to give me a new revised number there.
A new revised number?
So for this column 2? What is it? What did you say?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you as well. Can you repeat that?
I just want you to give me a new number for this budget number. Otherwise,
let's say it's going to be 165.5.
Okay, thank you, 165.5. Okay, so we just adjusted our budget. Now let's go ahead and close that out. And just to show you this, now we've eliminated the exporting. We can now eliminate the importing. I'm going to pull up the Dallas report for period 2, and there's my number. So, or we can do it set up by import, but it's pretty slick, and it will save a lot of time in either method that you set up. So one of the things that you've got the budget reports, it's easy to obviously have as many budget and forecast versions as you want. And this is kind of giving you, again, some examples of the types of reporting that you can do. One of the nice things is for executives to be able to streamline manipulating a lot of data in Excel. Okay, so you've got based on the current month, we've got a 6-month trend, could be 12 of actual. So I can kind of go also back into a prior month against a 6-month budget or forecast. And from an executive standpoint, the ability to just kind of be able to do some what-if scenarios easily So you could set up these what-if scenarios, for an executive to be able to play with the numbers. Now this is looking at breaking it down simply by revenue and expense categories. Typically they're going to want to do it in a little bit more granularity, so you could actually do it on a line-by-line basis. So this is kind of a different type of report. I'm actually looking at 6 months actual, and I've just got those columns grouped, okay? And I'm looking at how these break down as a total percentage. The actual, same with the forecast numbers here, okay? And then I want the ability to do the what if on the reforecasting. So this allows me to do it on kind of, again, by a line-by-line basis. And so it's really easy to set up within Biznet, okay? So I wanted to just kind of illustrate some of that. And again, really eliminating the need to do a lot of manipulating in Excel. We'll pull our budget versus actual report again. I didn't show you this report. A lot of times you have a report where you want to look at some number of actuals against a forecast or budget for the year. With Biznet, really easy to manipulate. You want to just drag and drop, and now you've got your current actual period against the budget or forecast for the year. So you can see once you've built the report, it's really easy to manipulate and reformat the report. Just to reset, you would just roll back your functions, change your budget year, and you're good to go. Okay. So let's kind of, if there aren't any questions at all, we're going to touch on dashboarding and then look at report distribution, because that's really a slick product of what we do. So you can create reports. You can then, in the same workbook here, you can have dashboards sitting on top of those Biznet reports or functions, and the reports can be interactive and dynamic. Okay, so you can kind of have an interactive dashboard very easily. Okay, and again, really easy to do. That's just standard Excel functionality. So they're kind of live linked. The other thing is taking it up a notch. You can now we have the reports, the dashboards, but we use the conditional formatting to sort of at a glance, I can sort of scorecard performance. So we're using the conditional formatting, and this is just setting certain thresholds for each one of these KPIs we're tracking, and the text is conditionally formatted. So I can at a glance, without analyzing a report or a dashboard, I can see right away whether we're on target or not, or we're exceeding plan. And that's just standard. This is all the standard conditional formatting. You set up the thresholds of when you're underperforming or overperforming. But what's really nice is you can pull in different criteria, look at last year, the current year, maybe the last 3 years. So it just kind of allows your board presentation and just kind of kick it up a little. And this is all, you can set it up and just start having a lot of fun in the presentation layers. Once you kind of connect your stage data using our function set to Excel, you can start, kind of adding some nice presentation layers to those reports. So let's, if there aren't any questions, let's look at report distribution. This is really a slick product, and what this is going to enable you to do is really, hopefully, streamline the distribution and publishing process you're going through today. For most of the clients that we work with, this is a very manual process every month of creating emails and PDFs and all that stuff. That all goes away. What you're going to do is create a workbook you want to set up for your distribution. And this would be the same workbook whether you were publishing it weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, even if the reports varied from each of those periodic publishing periods. You're going to set up a workbook of all the reports you want to publish, even though everyone may not get all the reports. And this is just a workbook of financial reports, but again, it could be coming from different modules into the same workbook. It really doesn't matter. We are creating a workbook that we're going to set up for distribution by simple location parameter, but again, it could be set up to publish by company, location, department, whatever your requirements are. So we've got a cover sheet here with today's date. I've got my P&L by location, expense report. We've even got a dashboard report. So the first time to set this up, you create your workbook. This is a one-time process. You come up to the Biz Broadcast ribbon, which is our distribution piece. You click New Distribution Template. And when you do that, it adds this sheet to the workbook, and these are your instructions for distribution. This looks kind of like a lot of typing, but I'm going to show you it's pretty straightforward. to create this. But really what this allows you to do is for each report you're sending out, you can have a different format, a different method of delivery, and much more importantly, totally different content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you get started because, again, it looks like a lot of typing, but it populates a lot of those fields. I can only have one template per workbook, so we're going to start with just the blank one if that's okay. So to set it up, assuming, let's say these sheets are all your reports you've set up, you'll just come in here, you'll click New Distribution Template, and it adds that tab, and then you're just going to prompt you through. So format of each report, PDF. Excel, if they have, as we're going to review, a Biznet viewer license, you can specify the appropriate version of Excel that they have if you want to package up a series of reports. And within your company, you can be on Excel 2003, 7, 10, and 13 concurrently. Notice the values only. If you want to distribute reports in an Excel format but they do not have a Biznet license, then you need to strip out the Biznet functions. And this will do that for you automatically. There is an option in there. Actually, if you just specify values only, it'll strip out all the functions, including Excel. But you do have the option to specify that you want to retain sum functions or VLOOKUPs or any Excel functions so that it'll still work for that user like a regular spreadsheet. And if you want to publish out to a portal, you can do that. So format of each report, okay, just specify it. Method of distribution, folder, email, you can do both, and just double-clicking on the path will you just select the folder that you want, and it's going to populate the path names for you. And the selection tab, same thing. You just double-click on it, and it will automatically list all of the tabs with the appropriate names that you have. So this allows you to specify for each report who's going to get what tab and in any preference of order. Okay, so I can change the order for each report. There's some options here in terms of hiding certain sheets or password protecting, etc. So you're just going to specify any special conditions. So you can see and if it's all going to go to the same place, you can drag this all down, etc. So pretty easy to set up, and I just wanted to show you that it kind of prompts you through. So when you first look at this, it looks a little complex, but it's pretty simple. So method of delivery, format, who's going to get what tabs here. So you'll see one report's the only one getting the dashboard. We're changing the order here. And more importantly now, we're going to tailor the content. So this report, we're passing, as I said, just location. This report is getting it just for Dallas, this one just for Miami. These two reports we're generating, we're passing 3 parameters. We're going to generate the report first for all locations, and then we're going to break the 2 out. So I'm passing 3 parameters, so they're going to get 3 income statements, 3 expense reports. If I was passing 5 company codes, 20 department codes, it would generate 100 income statements, 100 expense reports. You just kind of do the math. But you only have to have 1 tab and maintain 1 tab. So let me clear out my budget publishing, and let's go ahead and republish now. So we do have a scheduler too, by the way. Most of the financial reports is done on demand, but you do have that option. So again, we're going to do 1 click of the button. It's generating these reports and publishing that for you. And I'm going to just share with you a couple other things that this product does that's pretty slick. But let's just take a look at these real quickly. These are going to look very different, very personalized from each other, even though they were generated from the same set of reports at the same time. So here's the Miami report. Oh, my goodness. Let me do that again here. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't connect this right. Hang on. And I don't know, Sherry, if there's any questions at this point. Let me just.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat window. Does anyone have any questions? Please speak up or chat us in the chat window.
Yeah. So I just. And if there's anything we still need to cover about anything, please let me know. Okay. Let me try this one more time here. I love demos. Okay. So we're going to republish this. And we're going to come over here to our folder again. hopefully we're good. Okay, looks a little better. I think I should close down my spreadsheet. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. So here's our report just for Miami, and we created this with drill down capability, and notice that we sent it just for Miami. Now kind of moving through the different reports, we've got the report just for Dallas, and you can see it created it just for Dallas here. So again, I can have all these different formats very, very easily. Now this is where we bursted out the different reports. Notice we put the expense reports first, and the bookmarking is really kind of cool because this allows me not only to see what's on each page, but kind of go right to that page. Oh, I've got to get rid of that message. You can see here, you can kind of click to that page. Now the way, I'm just going to kind of comment on the naming convention here. It takes the original tab name and it appends the parameters passed. So you can see the locations for each of the reports. Now I'm also passing period. But since we're only running it for one period, it really doesn't add any value. The only time that might add value is if I was passing 3 periods. Let's say I want to run it first for period 4, then 5, then 6. I do have the ability just to press that in the naming convention. I probably should show you that, but that's just how the naming convention works, just so you can kind of see. But the bookmarking is really cool. And then the last report in Excel, and this is where we get the economies of scale. We had a lot of clients coming off of FRX. They might have a report of 80 tabs to show 80 departments. We can burst out any number of tabs. We don't have to maintain 80 tabs. So here's the same workbook. First, they got the dashboard report, and then you can see all the different tabs at the bottom. Now, we created this as a values only, so they don't need any kind of Biznet license. It's still Excel. But there's no drill down, but again, you know, they don't need a license for that. So you can see all the formats and the reports look very different from each other. Now, one last comment on the Biz Broadcast, which is really a cool feature, is the fact that this report allows you to use it for other types of reporting. So, for example, if you were emailing, you could include standard attachments. But also, I can merge in other documents. When we selected this selection list, one of the options it allows you to do is maybe you had PDFs coming from other applications or Excel files. You can specify where you want the merge to occur. So we can merge external PDFs with the PDF file we're creating, and we can merge Excel workbooks together. So it's a pretty cool feature, so you can kind of have it look more seamless, send out one report maybe to the board as opposed to a bunch of different files. So I think that's just kind of a nice feature. Okay, so that's the demo. Just want to kind of wrap up with the license types. And Sherry, I'm not sure what what else we want to cover, but want to make sure there's not any questions here on any of the things we saw today. So the licensing is.
I'm not seeing any questions, but I'll be sending out a follow-up to everyone, so if something comes up, I'll let you know.
Oh, perfect. So this is how we license the product. You have to have at least one designer. Viewers, as I mentioned, are your drill down capabilities, and these are optional. Okay? So this is what's going to dictate. The packages come standard. So we start with one designer. It is for the financial reporting and the budgeting capabilities, so that it's pretty cost effective. So it starts at one-time license fee for that, $19.95, and you can add users and other capabilities. So for Sherry to be able to give you a quote, you would actually have to just specify how many users and of what type. So again, report designers create reports. So when you saw me add a function or modify a function in a report, basically create the report. Only your report designers can do that. Viewers would be anyone with that needed that interactivity of a report, a real-time connection, and the drill down. If they don't need that, they can live with the static reports, and they don't need any kind of license at all. You would use the publishing to send them a report. Did that hopefully answer a question by everybody? Okay. Well, again, we want to thank you for your time, and Sherry, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Denise, for such a beautiful presentation. Wonderful and informative. To everyone attending, I will be sending out a follow-up email so that you will have my email information. Again, my name is Sherry Palumbo. I'm the account manager here at ISM. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me, and we can go from there. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.